Hello viewers, today we will see the topic planning. As you all know, planning is the most basic of all management functions. There is no choice between planning and not planning. The choice is only with regard to the method and techniques used to plan. Most of us are planning many things in our day-to-day lives. Frequently, we plan to do official work, improve our careers, plan our investment, build own houses, do business, and so on. Organizations are no exception, and lots of planning activities are done by the management people at all levels. Planning is the process of selecting objectives and determining the course of action required to achieve these objectives. Lot of information has to be gathered and processed before planning is formulated. In simple terms, we can tell planning bridges the gap from where we are and where we want to go. It makes the things possible to occur which would not otherwise happen. In other way, also we can tell planning is designing in advance what to do, how to do, when to do it, and who to do it. It involves anticipating the future and consciously choosing the future course of action. So likewise, we have many definitions given by so many authors. So here we have, according to Heyman, planning is the function that determines in advance what should be done. Likewise, according to Terry, planning is the selection and relating facts and making use of assumptions regarding the future in the visualization and formulation of proposed activities to be lived necessary to achieve desired results. We have corporate planning also. It is a process used by business to map out a course of action which will result the revenue growth and increased profits. So here's some of the nature of planning. So planning is a goal oriented. Planning is a primary function. Planning is all pervasive. Planning is a continuous process. Planning is forward looking. Planning involves choice. Planning is directed toward efficiency. So planning is goal oriented. So when we actually plan, when we have to achieve the goal. So that is why planning is always based on our objectives, goals. That is why one of the nature of planning is it is goal oriented. Planning is a primary function. Planning is the primary function of management and it proceeds all functions such as organizing, directing, controlling. There is no meaning of other activities without setting the goals. Planning is a all pervasive. So it is not only in one field, but it is seen in many places, in many areas, in many departments. That is why we are telling planning is a pervasive. Planning is a selective process. For achieving a particular objective, there are a number of alternatives available. The planning manager has to select only one alternative which is the best suited to the firm. Thus, planning is one kind of selective process. That is why the word given, it involves choice. Apart from this nature, we have other nature also. Like planning is a dynamic process. It is a continuous managerial function involving complex process such as perception, analysis, communication, decision, and action. It is never-ending activity of a manager of an enterprise. Most of the plans are modifying, revising according to the changes in the circumstances. Moreover, a series of plans is to be followed successively one after the other. Thus, planning process will continue and will never come to an end. Planning is based on objectives and policies. Planning process involves in setting objectives to be achieved and determining the techniques for achieving those objectives. Thus, the planning are objectives related. Planning is a intellectual process. This is another nature of planning. It is a mental activity. It is a process where number of activities are to be taken to decide the future course of action. Various levels of managers have to consider various course of action achieving the desired goals. And the last point here in the slide is given, planning is directed towards efficiency. So planning in general, it always direct towards efficiency. All management functions, including planning, are directed to increase the efficiency of the firm. Planning is an intellectual activity that aims the best way of doing things. Planning provides the goals and objectives. Thus, we are telling planning moves or directs towards efficiency. And many other nature also we have, like it focus on future activities. It is a flexibility. It should be a flexibility. And very important nature is planning should be based on facts. Planning is not a guesswork or trial and error method. It is conscious, the determination of projecting a course of action for the future. Planning is based on facts, objectives, and considered forecast. So before process, let me talk something about importance of planning or objectives of planning. So planning has a great importance in all types of organization. It is necessary to plan due to the following reason. Primary of planning. So as we already said, planning is a primary function of an organization which precedes all other functions. All other functions such as organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling, and which is performed to achieve the objectives already set by a planning process. Planning is very important to achieve objectives. Planning always directs towards the attainment of organization objectives. While planning, we should be clear about few questions. Why am I making this plan? What I'm trying to accomplish? What resources do I need to execute the plan? If we prepare the answers for the above questions, it will provide a lot of clarity on objectives. Planning serves as a bridge between present and future objectives. Another importance of planning is it helps to cope up with uncertainty and change. There is a continuous change in the environment. A good organization has to work in accelerating change. This change is reflected in both tangible and intangible forms. Tangible changes are in the form of changes in technology, market forces, government regulations, etc. Intangible changes are in the form of changes in attitude, values, cultures, etc. Planning enables the identification of future problems and meeting such contingencies. Likewise, we have many more importance of planning, which I will list out. To facilitate control, we need planning. Planning helps in coordination. To increase organizational effectiveness, we need planning. And planning guides us in decision making. And the next we will see process of planning. As you all know, planning is a process. Therefore, it contains number of steps within. It is not necessary that a particular planning process or steps are valid for all organizations and all types of plans. Planning process which is suitable for large scale organization may not be suitable for small organization. Since various factors involved into planning process may differ from plan to plan or from organization to organization. The planning process or steps are mostly applicable for major programs. But with minor modifications, the process is applicable for all types of plans. So very first, we have to define the task. So what are the tasks we are going to carry out for which we have to plan? So identify the resources. In other way, we can tell identification of opportunities. Identification of awareness of the opportunity is the starting point of planning. First of all, we should identify the possible future opportunities and analyze them clearly and completely. Among them, we have to identify some of the things like where do we stand, what our strength and weakness, what problem we wish to solve and why, what do we expect to gain. Once the opportunities are perceived from availability, the other steps of planning are undertaken. The next step is establishing of objectives or goals. The next step in planning is to establish objectives for the entire organization and then for each subordinate unit. Objectives specify and indicate the result expected. Next is identification of alternatives. The next step in planning is to search for and design the alternatives course of action. Based on organizational objectives and planning premises, various alternatives of plan can be identified. A particular objective can be achieved through a number of ways. All alternatives cannot be analyzed. Some alternative can be rejected at its preliminary stage itself by considering preliminary criteria, such as minimum investment required, machine, money, market condition, matching with the present business, government control, skilled workers, techniques available, etc. Only the alternatives which meet the preliminary criteria may be chosen for further detailed analysis. So once you identify the alternative, the next goes evaluation of alternative. The alternative considered for the analysis according to preliminary criteria may be taken for further evaluation. Each alternative course of action is evaluated on the basis of profitability, capital investment, risk involved, gestation period, etc. It presents a problem because each of these alternatives may have certain advantage and disadvantage. For instance, an alternative may appear to be most profitable, but it requires a large cash outlet with slow payback, and another one may be less profitable, but it involves less risk factors. So in evaluating the alternative, sometimes intangible factors such as public relations, goodwill of the company, employee morale, personal relations, etc. are to be considered. Moreover, there is no certainty about the outcome of the alternative because it is related with future and future is always uncertain. Thus, the evaluation work becomes more complex. Therefore, more sophisticated techniques of planning and decision making have to be developed. So once you evaluate that, the next step is select the best course of action. After the evaluation of various alternatives, the most appropriate course of action is selected. If more than one alternative is suitable, then many alternatives may be chosen for execution. When the situation changes, the selected plan does not provide to the best, and other alternatives may be right. The last step is formulation of derivative plan and establishing sequence of activities. Derivative plans are formulated on the basis of major plan. There are several minor plans required to support and execute the major plan. So various derivative plans are planning for buying equipment, buying raw material, recruiting and training personnel, developing new product, etc. After formulating the derivative plan, the sequence of activities is determined so that the plans are put into action. While formulating derivative plan, a built-in mechanism should be created for periodic review and updating various plans whenever necessary. The starting and finishing time are fixed for each piece of work so as to indicate when and within what time the work is to be commenced and completed. So like this, we have limitations also, like lack of accurate information, time and cost, resistance to change, lack of ability to plan, false sense of security, environmental constraints. When we see the topic types of planning, it can be divided into group planning, divisional or functional planning, corporate planning. So what is group planning? It refers to planning for specific group or section within a department. So group planning are formulated at the operating level of management and then they are approved by the higher authorities. Divisional or departmental planning, which plans are formulated for various departments or division of an enterprise. It determines the scope and activities of the particular department. So these are formulated at the middle level of management and approved by the top authorities. What is corporate planning? So this plan is taken as a whole is known as corporate planning. So planning done for the company as a whole is corporate planning. Like it lays down objectives, strategies, policies, and many other like budget, rules for the entire organization. So it is already done by the top management. So that's all about planning topic. Thank you. We will see next topic in the